My name's Howard, and I want to welcome y'all to Tupelo Hardware. We're an old hardware store that's been in business since 1926. We're third generation owned, and George Booth is the current owner and president of Tupelo Hardware. We're famous for a lot of things, and one of them is selling Elvis Presley his very first guitar. Elvis came in our store in 1945. Elvis was 10 years old, came in with his mother Gladys, and they came in to buy Elvis a bicycle. When they came in the store, they came in through that front door right there where that man's walking out. And when they came in the store, they walked on this exact same floor. And Elvis stopped.
Well, I see an X right there.
Right, he stopped right in front of this counter. The reason Elvis stopped in front of the counter was because Elvis spotted a .22 rifle hanging on that wall where that poster is up at the top. And Elvis decided that he wanted the rifle instead of the bicycle. Well, his mother said, no, absolutely not, no, you're not going to have the rifle. So little Elvis kind of got upset and started pouting and crying a little bit. Well, there was a man standing back here where I am right now, and his name was Forrest Bobo. Mr. Bobo was a longtime employee of Tupelo Hardware, and Mr. Bobo also was a personal friend of the Presley family. So Mr. Bobo was trying to think of something to calm Elvis down. Well, there just happened to be a guitar on the top shelf on this showcase.
Now, did they always sell guitars back then in the hardware stores?
They kept maybe one or two guitars in stock back then. But Mr. Bobo opened the door, he reached in, and he pulled the guitar out of this showcase, the same showcase. Same door, same floor, same showcase. So he pulled the guitar out, he handed it to Elvis, who was standing right in front of the counter, and he told Elvis to try the guitar. And so Elvis had never had a guitar in his hands ever, and so he reluctantly took the guitar and played with it. And so his mother looked at him, Elvis's mother looked at him and said, Elvis, I'll buy you the guitar if you'll take the guitar. So Elvis played with it for another minute or so, and he turned to his mother and said, yes ma'am, I'll take the guitar.
Now, do you know how much they paid for the guitar?
$7.59.
Was that a lot of money?
That was a lot of money back then, yes. This would have been, like I say, 1945. And this area was a poor part,
right.
of the state. And but backing up to, he said, I'll take the guitar. I always like to tell people when they come in here that actually Elvis turned to his mother and he said, that's all right, Mama. That's all right with me, which he didn't say that,
right.
But he did sing that song later. But the true fact is that Gladys didn't say that, but the true fact is that musical history, we think that musical history was made right at that spot. I like to think of the birthplace as being the cradle of rock and roll, and I like to think of Tupelo Hardware as jump-starting rock and roll at a young age, because Elvis did grow up to be the king of rock and roll.
Right.
Make no mistake.
Well, what would happen if they never bought the guitar in here? What do you think?
There's no telling. I mean, if he'd have bought the rifle, he probably could have been a famous hunter or something like that. Or if he'd have bought the bicycle, he could have been a Lance
Armstrong?
Lance Armstrong, yeah. But we're thankful that he did buy the guitar, and it sure changed the world. I can tell you that. There was nobody before Elvis, and there's been nobody after Elvis.
So that's certainly. Now I heard a story that Joe Perry from Aerosmith came in here.
He did.
Do you know the story behind that?
He sure did. Joe Perry. This is a picture right here. They were doing a concert over here at our Bancourt South Arena.
Right.
And their bus stopped across the street, and so they stopped the bus, and about three or four guys ran across the street, and one of them being Joe Perry. And Joe Perry, when he walked in the door, he looked at me and he said, I want to buy a guitar from where the king of rock.
Did you actually talk to Joe Perry?
I did. I waited on Joe Perry.
Did you know who he was right away?
I did, because I just knew it because they were in town.
Right.
And so he said, I want to buy a guitar from where the king of rock and roll bought his first guitar. And I said, we can handle that for you. So we walked around the store, and I went over and showed him the guitars, and he selected that Sunburst guitar right there. It's an acoustic. It's a $129 guitar.
Right.
But he wanted to buy it to put in his all Elvis room up in just outside Boston.
Right.
So that was his reason. That night at the concert, Steven Tyler read Mr. Bobo's letter. And this is Mr. Bobo's letter talking about selling Elvis the guitar. And Steven Tyler read this letter to the 8,500 people that were in our Coliseum that night for the concert. And they said you could have heard a pin drop when Steven was reading this. And then Joe Perry stepped forward and he lifted up his guitar and he says, and I bought a guitar at Tupelo Hardware from where the king of rock and roll bought his first guitar. And they said the roof almost blew off.
What date was the concert when they were here?
Let's see. Let's see here. It was March the 24th, 2004.
So it really wasn't that long ago.
No.
I was thinking maybe back in the 80s or something.
No, it was actually the day before that, because that was what was in the picture. The next day had all kinds of people around Tupelo and people that have restaurants and there's radio station, and called the store and wanted to talk to me. You know, is it true Joe Perry came in your store? And I told them what happened, and then a lot of people were here to buy a guitar like Joe Perry guitar. I had about 5 of the guitars that were like Joe Perry's, and that he purchased, and I sold them all in less than 30 minutes. I had 5 of them, sold every one. We could only keep 6 of each guitar. But that was pretty exciting. I've also had Prince Albert of Monaco has been in. I've had Harry Smith with the CBS Early Morning Show. He's been in here. Nickelback, a rock group, has been in Tupelo Hardware. Jo Dee Messina, she's a country singer. Mel Tillis and Pam Tillis, they've been in the store. And it's just, it's fun. And we'll have probably somewhere around 25,000 people a year that will come through our store.
Do they stand in this spot?
They love it. In fact, Harry Smith, you know who I'm talking about, Harry Smith.
Harry Smith, no, I don't know who he is.
CBS Early Morning Show.
You know who he is?
Yeah. Come on, you know.
Yeah.
He had his crew with him, you know, all of his big television people and everything. They were in town for the first presidential debate that was at the University of at Ole Miss.
Okay.
So he came by and he just wanted to get a little flair of Northeast Mississippi, and he just loved it. He's an old country boy from Illinois, and that was fun having him in here.
Now, what's with this guitar that's signed up there? Is that anything?
That's just a lot of different people that were here. Nickelback signed it.
Oh, really?
DJ Fontana signed it.
Yeah.
Ronnie McDowell, who's a wonderful entertainer, he signed it. This man right here signed it. Let me see if I can find it.
And who's that?
Who is that? Take a guess.
Freddie Fonda?
That is the coal miner from Chile. Remember they were underground.
Yeah.
They were underground for
one of them was an Elvis fan, right?
2.5 months. Yeah.
They gave him what the hell, as a present or something. So he said he was an Elvis fan.
He went to Graceland.
He kept him going.
When he came up out of the ground, they asked him. He said, "What do you want to do?" And he said, "I want to go to Graceland and do Elvis." You know, so that's what they did. Somebody hooked him up and brought him to our country, and he was on the David Letterman show.
I seen that.
Yeah, and he was on ran the New York Marathon, and then he went to Memphis and he cut Elvis's birthday cake. He went to Sun Studios and recorded 2 records, and then they brought him to Tupelo, and he came by Tupelo Hardware, and I told him.
Did you meet him, or?
I did. I told him the story. I gave him that guitar, and I gave him a T-shirt, Tupelo Hardware T-shirt to wear. Very humble, very nice, very polite. He had a translator.
Right, I don't think he speaks English that well.
They spoke Spanish in Chile, but that was fun. And this week, which is Elvis Week here in Tupelo, Mississippi, and around the world, I guess. And this is we've had, I bet we had 400 or 500 people in yesterday.
Really?
They didn't buy anything like nuts and bolts, hammers, no.
Oh, they buy T-shirts. They buy. I mean, I did by myself yesterday. I did over $2,000 with the people that came.
What's the most common thing people buy when they come down
Oh,
there?
they
Was
buy
like a
these
postcard
books,
right
these,
here?
these books, the post. They buy all of this, and this is a real good DVD. It's Elvis's life growing up in Tupelo, and it's Chris Christopherson narrates it. This is a book that Ronnie McDowell put out, and it's got great stories about Elvis. And this is this right here. He sold out of these yesterday, and he got me some more back. But that's called The Roots of Elvis, and Julian Riley put it together. Come in. Got it. And this is just a story about the Presleys. It's a book about the Presleys. Didn't work? Okay. But that's us.
All right. Is that it? Have we missed anything? Or?
Well, we can walk over and look where the guitars are if you'd like to do that.
All right, let's check that out. There's Ricky.
Nuts, bolts.
You guys been here for what, like 65 years?
The store's been in business since 1926. And we've been in this building since 1941. This building built. That over there.
So was this the original one right here? Or?
That was added on to this building.
Okay.
This was a seed and feed store.
Okay.
And on the other side was also a hardware store through that. And we're in the process of finishing the remodeling on the other side of that wall. So all we did was just cut a hole out here, so as Elvis looking at it, you see nothing.
You know, the Golden Maid, the very first time he wore that was in Chicago.
Is that right? I did not know that.
Chicago Stadium, which now they torn down.
Uh-huh.
And supposedly what I heard, and actually I got the book, that he would kneel down on stage and the gold dust would come off his pants. So Colonel Tom Parker said, don't do that because you're costing us a couple $100 every time you kneel down because the gold dust comes off. So after that, he just wore the jacket and wore black pants.
Oh, he did?
Yes.
Okay. Uh-huh.
That's what it said in the book that I read.
Got T-shirts. Our T-shirts are $18. They're 100% cotton. They're the Huffy type, T-shirt.
Right.
And on the back it says, it's kind of got a graphic picture of
Which one of these are comparable to the one that
Elvis bought. It would have to be this one right here. The company that made those guitars went out of business in the early 50s. It was a K guitar. And so this is a guitar that I can't get a replica.
Like a replica,
right, I don't
same
know.
standards and everything.
That would be great. But this right here would be the closest to what was Elvis's guitar. Because back in those days, they didn't have acrylic and all that kind of stuff.
Fancy.
Yes. We sell guitars. Say you wanted to buy one of these guitars, it would cost you $89. And I've got a real nice gig bag that you can put the guitar in. It's a padded gig bag, and that is $29. And that allows you to take it back on the airplane. When you go back, you just use it as carry-on luggage. Just put it over your shoulder, and that'll take you in. That's the way we do it.
What's your name now again?
Howard High.
All right, nice to meet you.
Yes, sir.
My
Nice to
name's
meet
Eric.
you. Yeah.
And I guess that's it then, right?
That's about it.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.